I used to feel good about myself that I was like playing all the classes multiple times. I'm like, man, I really know this game. And then at some point I just leaned back in my chair and I realized, holy shit, I'm a loser. I'm gonna go play Last Epoch.
How many
I guess
hundreds did you end up making? And now, because I mean, you have been grinding Diablo 4 more and longer than I think anyone else I've seen. Like, you didn't jump ship at all. You sat down every single day and grinded the fuck out of Diablo 4. So how many 100s did you end up with?
I think right now I have 8.5. I wanted 5 on softcore, 5 on hardcore, but I think I have 8.5 right now. I think my barb is like 70, and then I just need to do I was saving one of the easiest ones for last. I just do the necro, and then I'd have 10, and then I'd have to delete a 100 to play season 2.
Oh God, yeah, because we only have 10 character spots, don't we? Including seasonal, right?
Yeah. So the goal is to have to delete a 100 to play season 2.
That's a good video. Be like, I quit my level 100, deleting my character. There you go. Delete the character. 500 million views, just like that. Rax deletes his character. Got 8.5 level 100s. Okay, so what was the point you started getting bored, but you're like, nah, I want to push through? Because for me, I was starting to get bored, like, by the time I hit my first level 100 druid, and then the Uber Lilith was fun, but it was immediately after Uber Lilith for me. So when I cleared the Uber Lilith, and I was like, okay, well, now it's literally just Nightmare Dungeons. That's when I immediately started getting bored.
I would honestly say for me, it was probably a long time earlier than that. But I play Diablo for really the community. Even when I'm playing SSF, I'm playing to answer questions, talk to chat, have fun, listen to music. So the gaming experience, and this is kind of sad for me for a long time here, has been kind of like a secondary feature. So I wasn't really exactly having a ton of fun in Diablo 4 straight from the beginning because I knew there was nothing to do.
Sure.
The Uber Lilith challenge with a non-exploit one-shotted build, that gave me like 5 days of fun, just getting pounded.
That was actually quite fun. I mean, people talk down about the Uber Lilith fight now. I feel like I see comments of like ragging on it, like, oh, it's not that great or whatever. But I just kind of disagree with you. I thought Uber Lilith was the most enjoyable part of Diablo 4 for me, or at least for me. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but like getting destroyed by Uber Lilith and actually having to, get good, like learn it. And granted, I did with Bone Spear, so, I wasn't as hard as, doing it like a fucking rogue or something, but it was still like you had to get good and dodge the waves and learn the mechanics and all that. And took me like 13 to 18 hours or something right around there. It was less than 20 hours to beat the whole thing. And that was the best part of Diablo 4 out of all of it, bar none. Uber Lilith was like the peak of my enjoyability.
Yeah, I mean, I watched your progression there. I actually didn't. The only part I didn't see was you actually kill her, but your progression was very good on the boss. One thing that a lot of people do, one thing that's super in fashion, is the whole internet likes to talk shit about Blizzard about everything that they do. Yeah. So they'll even make fun of Uber Lilith, this and that, and this and that. Blizzard does some things well. Like, for example, Blizzard can definitely design bosses when, it wasn't necessarily that Uber Lilith was the problem. It was the builds that were broken. They made Uber Lilith essentially a beta testing arena where we would just test the bugs of builds.
True.
But if those had been removed, if the game came out, let's say today, without the stupid bulwark build from the druid, if that finally got nerfed or something, and there was no barber, and then every class had to fight Uber Lilith, it would be much more fair. It would be something closer to like a world first race in WoW. But over time in WoW, the raids have gotten a lot harder, and Blizzard can make bosses. So whenever they decide to do more of that content, that is something that Blizzard can do. And I think Uber Lilith was not really to blame. It was all the other bugs in the builds that was ruining the experience.
Do you think that, okay, let's say the 5 new bosses come out. Let's say they're all Uber Lilith level, where maybe there's some bugs or some cheesy stagger builds or something that kills. Sure, there's some unethical shit. But let's just say they're 5 decently designed bosses, pretty enjoyable, more manageable for the average person. I still don't think the average guy is clearing Uber Lilith. You know what I mean? It takes a little bit of commitment, right? So if those 5 bosses come out, we can farm Uber uniques from them. They're like pinnacle bosses in terms of level of enjoyability, and somewhat difficulty, but hopefully not as hard. Do you think 5 in-game bosses is going to be enough content for people to come back and like actually, play for a season? You think that's enough?
No. The reason why is it. I think the answer is secretly hidden in your description of the question.
Okay.
Uber Lilith is unobtainable for the average player still.
True. Yeah.
So if they added 5 bosses at Uber Lilith's level, what content did they add for the average player? The health of the game, of any game, is determined by the fun and enjoyment of the average player. If you add 5 more pieces that they can't reach, that is nowhere near enough. We need an endgame system like Last Epoch, or Path of Exile, or Torchlight, any of them. The second you hit the max level in the campaign, you are instantly doing an endgame activity which is rewarding you greatly. Blizzard's take on that might be, well, you can go do nightmare dungeons, and you can start leveling up your glyphs, and you can start getting your paragon. It is true, but for some reason, it just doesn't quite feel as fun. It feels a little bit discombobulated. It's not connected in building an atlas tree. It's not connected in clearing a monolith. It's not connected in upgrading a timeline and killing a boss like in Torchlight. It's all just so random. So
Would you
they
say
need to.
that? So let's say that if every time you did a nightmare dungeon, it gave you something towards one of these atlas trees. Let's say they had like a Path of Exile atlas tree type of situation where you can modify the nightmare dungeons or something to progress. Would that make you feel the content we're already doing repetitively, such as the nightmare dungeons, doesn't feel as bad anymore because you have a reason for its existence? Sort of in the same way, like maybe having the 9 to 5 job doesn't feel good, but having like a wife and kids that you're taking care of does feel good. So like the meaning to the job somewhat has more. I know it's probably a bad cross example, but it's the one that comes to mind. So would nightmare dungeons be saved in their current iteration if they're rewarded something out of it that actually continued otherwise progression of the game that isn't so repetitive in nature?
My answer to that would be absolutely. And the reason why is I'm going to let you in on a secret. We might have to mute it to chat. We might have to mute it to the world. So we can't let this get out. But we do the same thing in every game. Clearing maps and clearing dungeon or clearing monoliths in Last Epoch, and clearing the timelines in Torchlight, and clearing nightmare dungeons in Diablo is the same thing. There's slightly different variations, and Path of Exile does some interesting things, like they put like side areas and the different mechanics in it. They probably do the best job in actually trying to change up what happens when you enter in there. So props to Path of Exile for that one, but it's pretty much just the same thing. So it is to me, it's very much based upon how fun it is to do that activity, the reward, and as you're alluding to, what you are striving for. How does me running these 100 nightmare dungeons, how does that come together in some great fashion to make me feel like I've done something great? Can I target farm here? Can I build up a power here? Da 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 da. It just does not exist for Diablo 4, but there's a system in every other game. I think that's part of the reason why Nightmare Dungeons are getting killed. Another one of the reasons is because you couldn't port into them. And then when they implemented the fix that you could port into them, it didn't port you into them. It ported you outside of them.
Yeah,
and then you had to walk in.
True. I actually kind of don't understand that one, because they obviously can port. The text got to be there to port you right in, right? I think it must have just been like a bypass of thought, because I actually didn't think anything about it until we actually started playing it. It's like a play testing thing. I didn't actually catch that one. And then I played it and I was like, oh, why? I don't like the double loading screen. Like I teleport outside. And what happened is I would lag sometimes because everyone's teleporting to the same nightmare dungeon. So when the game was still somewhat popping up, teleport to like one of the most popular dungeons that we were refarming over and over again. And there'd be a lot of people there that actually lag. So I don't know if you experienced that at all, but that was more of like the power leveling grind thing, and the like Champions Demise and stuff. There'd be a lot of people there and you start to lag. So maybe it was something that like snuck by where they weren't really thinking about the double loading, but the double loading screen seems like basically completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I think what happened here, and the internet constantly assigns this mistake to, I'm guessing, Blizzard and a lot of other developers incorrectly. A lot of people will say, oh, they just gave a Band-Aid fix. They didn't even think about it. They don't care, da 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 da. They thought this was good and it was actual dog shit. But actually, I think that this was maybe actually a real case of that. And the reason why is I think they realized that People were very unhappy with their main endgame system. And the whole, I know that the team internally felt very, very strongly about the open world. You should ride around on your mount in the open world slowly to get to the nightmare dungeons, and that gameplay experience is going to be fun. Well, it wasn't, and they had to fix it immediately, which is where this kind of band-aid fix came from. And it wasn't fun for a lot of reasons. The horse sucks. It gets scared all the time. It can't walk around anything. It's stuck on everything. Can't go through barricades. And the overworld activities still to this day are by far the least valuable.
I do not understand this at all, Rex. I don't get what they were thinking with this, because you made a game that doubles down on social dynamic with zero reason to have it, and then you made a game with an open world where open world shit. So it's like social is great in these games. I wish there was a reason for me to give a fuck when I see somebody in the open world. And then I wish there was a reason for me not to run the same dungeon over and over again and walk around. They put so much work into the art, the design of the open world, these cool events that are RNG that pop up out of nowhere. It's cool, but then I actually feel like I am actively being stupid if I stop to do an event. It's an event. It should be something I'm excited. Oh, yay, an event. But I actually feel like the joke's on me if I decide to do an event in the open world. I feel like I'm the idiot. So it's not like oboes matter. So I don't understand what the point of like putting so much emphasis on the social system, so much so that stash tabs are literally an issue because of it. And then we have an open world that seems to be 90% of the reason to have the game, but then we don't use either of these systems. There's not, like, the clan system is literally worthless. It's a friends list. So I don't know if you got a feeling on that one, but it's like, those are the two things that strike to me that I have yet to figure out. It's like, especially the social one, honestly, there's zero reason for anything remotely social.
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. The point that you made, I was going to bring up 2 points. The clan system, it doesn't have any meaning. In World of Warcraft, the clan that you were in meant everything. You did the raids together. There was a lockout. You progressed together. You were ranked on a third-party leaderboard together. It was literally a band of brothers and sisters just working toward a common goal every day. You become friends. Like, you can make a lot of real solid relationships from the raiders and WoW if you stick together for years. This supposedly social MMO-esque Diablo 4 game not only doesn't have a social system at all in terms of a real social system like clans, but have you tried trading in Diablo 4? How would you do that? The best trading thing that I've seen by far is Diablo.trade. You go to a third-party website and they do all the trading for you. It's like, wow, this is supposed to be our outdoor tradey social Diablo, and what it has turned into is, well, people really want the instanced nightmare dungeons, and maybe they wouldn't mind doing the open world again, as you said, if it was rewarding to do so, if it didn't actively hurt you to play that way, but it does.
Well, it seems to me like the only reason to trade would be to trade like the uniques you can't get your hands on. So you have a spare Tempest Roar. You could probably get some gold for that, right? But you can't trade uniques or legendaries. So if you get a perfect row aspect and you have 15 of them, there's no reason to get the drop. Whereas in Path of Exile, I get an item and it's like, oh, I don't need this item, but this is a pretty good item. Like, I know I immediately can get some currency that then I can put into my other items. So maybe if they added a crafting system, then trading might innately get better in Diablo 4 because you have reason to have yellows and craft yellows into something else or rework the items that maybe yellows have more value. But since we can't trade uniques or legendaries, the actual rare stuff doesn't matter. And I don't know when's the last time literally anyone needed to buy a yellow item in order to progress in Diablo 4. Like, it's not that hard. You don't really need to trade for items. I've literally never had to trade for an item ever.
I mean, you can get 95% BIS items just playing the game to 100 if you just look at the gear that drops. Yeah, you don't need to trade for anything unless it's absolutely perfect. There's something about like not being able to trade them which impacts me personally. It probably impacts other people. This is probably a much smaller thing, but I'll bring it up since we're talking about it anyway. On my first, so I have two 100 druids. On my first 100 druid, I found 7 Tempest Roars. I was counting them because every time I found one and every time I had to go salvage it or vendor it for 200,000 gold, every druid in my chat was, you know, they had a box of puffs next to their desk to dry their tears because, you know, every time you vendor a Tempest Roar, it just kills a druid in chat inside that's never going to get one. Then I leveled up the hardcore druid and I found 6 of them. So I averaged 6.5 Tempest Roars, 1 to 100, and I got plenty of them that's saying I'm 95 and I don't have one. I would love, it's a good feeling for me, not fishing for viewers, not fishing for subs. It would just make me feel good as a person if I could say, every druid type 1 in chat, I'm gonna throw you into a random number generator. I'm gonna give one of you a Tempest Roar. Just take it. I don't want no trade. Don't give me anything. And then you can go to Chipotle for dinner and enjoy it, and everyone's gonna be happy. I would like if I get a Shaco, I'll probably wear it. But if I get another one, I would love to give it away. I mean, to me, that's fun. But you can't do that in this game.
So I saw this when we were talking about this. Someone else mentioned like, how do you feel about the 17 damage meme? You had probably the most well-known D4 meme for a minute there, being compared to the Druid damage of 17 damage. That was good. You got an emote for this one too, don't you on your channel, right?
Yeah, Rax 17. I gotta be honest. I just, with every fiber in my being, I just absolutely love that. I just love everything about how unimaginably stupid it is. I just look like an absolute piece of shit. I'm disgusted. Asmongold is laughing at me. The internet's laughing at me simultaneously. The internet's crying for me. It's just the best, man. I love everything about it. I'm okay with being known as a 17 damage guy. It is who I am.
That was a pretty good one. That one went everywhere right in the beginning of it. I saw that literally everywhere. I'll put a link down to the channel. Your boy is going to go live, Rax, today. I'm assuming because every day for 10 years, right? You're what, a third of the way through? 4 years in, if I remember right?
Just hit 4.5 years. Let's try to do another 5.5.
There we go. All right, boys. I'm going to spam the link in there. Go follow our boy. And appreciate the chat.
Love you guys. Thank you. And I'll see you later. If you want to check out Last Epoch, come over there. And I'm definitely going to be watching DM playing some Diablo 2. That game is the GOAT. Everybody knows it.
Have a good one.
You too. Later.
Bye-bye.